Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat here. I'm today with Toonami's ratings from January 16th, 2021. Let's start at the top of the block. At the top of the block, we have Dragon Ball Super at a 0.17, Attack on Titan at a 0.13, Sword Art Online, Alicization, War of the Underworld Part 2 at a 0.12, Fire Force at a 0.09, The Assassination Classroom at a 0.09, SSSS Gridman at a 0.09, Naruto Shippuden at a 0.09, and Demon Slayer at a 0.08. This is officially the lowest rated night in the history of Toonami. And last week we were all panicking. It got worse somehow this week. Dragon Ball Super, okay, right at the top of the block. Look, and I know people tell me Dragon Ball has its own set of fans. They'll always show up. They'll always show up. Yet again, if you're a Dragon Ball fan, wouldn't you want something you haven't seen in a while? I mean, this is like the third time we've rerun these episodes on the block. And I know a lot of people say that Dragon Ball GT is the worst series far and away, but would a premiere, or at least first time airing on Toonami episode of GT, really do worse than a third time of an episode of Dragon Ball Super running? Or any other edition of Dragon Ball? But the original Dragon Ball I know is off limits because Toonami has a thing where it has to have a high def transfer, and the original does not have that. But something needs to be done here because you can't start blocks of a 0.17 and expect anything afterwards to do well. Speaking of that, Attack on Titan once again underperformed. It actually went up 1/100th, whoopty freaking do, to a 0.13. And again, I think the problem here is you take an episode that premiered a week earlier or so, subbed, and people all went out, people who are Attack on Titan fans went out, they watched it, and they're not going to necessarily come back a week later because it's dubbed. And that's something I've noticed from the Attack on Titan fan base is if they can watch an episode as soon as they can, they're gonna take that opportunity. And that's what happened here. I don't think there's any Attack on Titan fans that were waiting for the dub to come out. They're really excited, really looking forward to season 4. They're just gonna watch the sub, even if they like the dub better. And that's why the ratings stay low. It's a 0.13. Usually at 12:30, we've been expecting 0.19s, 0.18s, but this is a massive drop off for those standards. And then after that, you have Sword Art Online. I guess good retention, only dropping 1/100th from that to 0.12. In itself, 1/100th better than last week. But trust me, this is as good as it really gets for this week now. And again, I've heard from a lot of people who've just tuned out of Sword Art Online. They're just bored with it. They don't really like the plot line. There's a bunch of other reasons a lot of people have heard complaining about this. And it's the next show off the block. I believe there's 3 episodes left, and hopefully we get a good show to replace it. But I'm honestly more pessimistic than optimistic. And then here's where it gets really ugly. Fire Force. TV dub premiere, by the way. Not even getting a 0.1. It's at a 0.09 this week. That is horrible. This is first time airing on television. And there's a lot of hype going into the season, by the way. And we've had weeks this season where it got close to a 0.2. But again, it's not being done favors by being this late in the block, or at least behind something like Attack on Titan, which we now know does not draw people to the block because they've already watched it subbed. And yeah, I mean, you can't say much about it. It's just a victim of horrible circumstance. And you could say that for everything afterwards, too. Assassination Classroom, SSSS Gridman, Naruto Shippuden. That's rock solid retention. We've had a bounce, like literally just bounce. In the course of 2 hours, you have a bouncing around of only 3,000 viewers to and from the block. That's amazing retention. Too bad it's so low ratings, it does not matter anymore. These are horrible ratings. And again, I mean, how many of you already forgot Assassins and Classrooms on the block? I won't blame you if you have forgotten about it. And another thing you probably forgot about, that this was a premiere of SSSS Gridman on the block. And it now surpasses Attack on Titan Season 4 for the lowest rated premiere in the history of the block. And again, you could say, well, it's an older show. It's not a big name show. And I never heard about it before, but it's not the type of name I'm really interested in watching. Because I bet for some people saw the promo, it's like, oh, it's basically Gundam. It's basically Gundam. And they just didn't bother to watch it. And I could talk all day about the concept of Gundam, how its fan base is, and like kind of this whole thing about back and forth about Is Gundam really being on? Should Gundam really be on Tummy? Long story short, yes, it fits the category perfectly well. But at the same time, people just clearly weren't enthused about it. You had 2,000 people coming in from Assassination Classroom to SSSS Gridman, and I saw earlier on Showbuzz Daily, if you actually look at like in terms of the actual 18 to 19, 18 to 49 viewers, it actually still dropped a bit. So it did not build on Assassination Classroom. It built on Fire Force, which I found hysterical. Fire Force having actually the second lowest ratings on the block, only behind a rerun of Demon Slayer. You know, and yeah, that's just really ugly here. And when you get ratings like this, and we're starting to get a pattern of ratings like this, you have to shift around the lineup. But here's the thing, what do you shift around? That's the thing. At the end of the day, it's not about shifting around shows. It's you have to get rid of shows and you have to get rid of shows and add them with new ones. Like, and here's a radical experiment I'm going to say right now. Very radical idea to some people here. What about let's take a very popular slice of life type of show. Let's say something like an older one too, so we don't have to worry about dubbing and stuff. How about the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya? I probably murdered that name. What's to say you can't throw it at midnight and it have good ratings? It still has a fan base. I see fan art and stuff of it all the time around the place. It's older, so like I said, you don't have to worry about the dub. And I mean, you can argue it might be difficult to secure the dub to air on TV, but I mean, if that's possible, why not? And you talk about Toonami, it's an action block, it's an action block. Yet at the same time, diversity is a strength. Diversity is a strength in television. So you gotta be able to think outside the box sometimes. And maybe it's time, and we already had this. We already have Ecchi on the block before in Food Wars, and it did amazing. It did far better than anyone expected it to. Who's to say you can't throw a slice of life show in there? Bring back more Ecchi too, by the way. Throw it on the block and might be get better ratings. And like I said, I think even Dragon Ball fans at this point are just tired of Dragon Ball Super. They're clearly not coming back as much as they used to for Dragon Ball Super for reruns. So again, and I know a lot of people hate GT, and I fully understand that. But again, one more time, would a premiere, a Toonami premiere of a GT episode do worse than a third time retread of a Dragon Ball Super episode? You know. And again, an Attack on Titan's a problem because, like I said, you can't really fix this because everyone's just going to watch the sub when it comes out. And they're not going to come back just to see it dubbed here. And it's not long enough period where people can be like, yeah, I want to see it again. I think it's like only a 1 week difference or so. That's not going to bring people to the block. And again, you could talk about Sword Art Online. You can't say much because it's on the way out. We have 2-3 weeks, and that's gonna be a question. What do you replace it with? Like you're looking at shows that are coming up soon. Promise Neverland would have already started 2 weeks earlier in Japan. I honestly doubt that's gonna be dubbed fast enough by Aniplex. Aniplex kind of has this well-known reputation of being pretty slow with dubbing. And definitely in these circumstances, since the dubbing, remember, is not done in Japan, where things are going off almost without a hitch right now in Japan in the animation industry. US, everything is still very piecemeal. Everything's still very, very slow of dubbing. I'm not expecting to be done fast. And even so, I'm honestly starting to get very worried that we're not going to even see that on Toonami. Because, like I said, it used to be like a rule of thumb for Toonami is if a show has a sequel and if its previous season aired on Toonami, it goes on the block. Like you say this with Attack on Titan. All 4 seasons have aired on the block. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. The first 5 seasons have aired on the block. But yet again, you have something like Mob Psycho, where we basically got confirmation a couple months ago that Mob Psycho Season 2 is not going to air on Toonami. So now that precedent is broken. Because Promise Neverland Season 1 aired on the block does not guarantee Season 2 will. And that's something I'm worried about because I'm not going to spoil anything, but based on the manga and what they're probably going to adapt, I'm ecstatic to see what they do with the source material in Season 2. And again, you have a handful of like reasonably new titles that really aren't living up to the hype. And then you have SSSS Gridman that no one really wanted. When it first got announced, I'm like, who is this? And literally, and I usually, even in anime I'm not that aware of, I've seen fan art or stuff in passing I've seen a grand total of one piece of fan art of SSS's Gridman since it first aired, apparently. I didn't even heard of it. It slipped by me when it first aired, I guess. And it's not even that old. It's only a few years old. And again, what audience is there for SSSS Gridman? Again, people who don't like Mecha, who don't like Gundam, are just gonna write it off right off the bat. And there's some loyalists to Gundam who are like, oh, it's a knockoff Gundam, why would I watch it? So you have that issue going for it, you know. And at the same time, again, and this is a difficult spot because this is not something that's going to get repaired next week. Expect these types of numbers again next week, by the way. There's no reason to believe it's going to get better as it is. And you could talk about, well, it's cable cutting. Yeah, but at the same time, this recent plummet has been so fast, you can't necessarily say it's because people aren't watching cable as much as they used to. And I think it starts at the top of the block. Like I said, they should have listened to me a few months ago and put Assassination Classroom at the start of the block, because I think it has that type of appeal that something like My Hero Academia had, where a lot of people watched My Hero Academia when it came out on Toonami, when it was the lead off of the block. That succeeded well. And people talk about, what about Boruto? Boruto's never coming back. I don't think Food Wars is ever coming back. And although it's more likely we do get Black Clover back again, I wouldn't be surprised if we never see that one again, Especially since I think they've only dubbed 5 episodes since it's left Toonami. So again, I mean, and you can talk about what's the new show here. Because the new slot to be opened up is going to replace War of the Underworld. I mean, I don't think it's Promised Neverland Season 2 anymore. I don't think Dr. Stone will have even started yet. And I honestly don't think, even though I'm more bullish on Fina, I don't think Fina Pirate Princess is going to be ready to air at that point. So what do we do? Do we just contract like how we did last year? I mean, at the same time, or are we just going to have what are we going to have here? The majority of the block finished below 0.1. This is not okay. No, and this is the sorriest state I've ever seen this block. This is worse than that period in fall of 2018 where for some reason they put Fully Cooley Alternative after Dragon Ball Super, and you lost more than half the audience from one slot to the next. People talk about we're losing 400ths of a drop. Yeah, it's the largest drop off you get in the block, but at the same time, I mean, this is nowhere near as bad as we had when they had, like I said, Fully Cooley falling up, you know. And people talk about how good Fully Cooley Alternative is, and although I do say it's much better in Progressive, it's the better of the sequels, people did not want to watch it. But again, I digress. I'm getting off topic again. But again, not a good week for Toonami. And you might have to experiment again. Throw Ecchi on the block. Put Slice of Life on the block. Hell, take 3 o'clock, 3:30. Stop doing reruns and just throw hentai in there. It's probably illegal to do, but at least you'll have fun doing it. I mean, what do you guys think? What do you think Toonami should put on the block? Which shows do you want to see? How would you rearrange this lineup to help the ratings out? I love reading your opinions. Leave your comments down below. If you like this content, for Toonami news content like this, please like, please comment, and subscribe. I'm the Super Orange Cat, and that is all.